I'm just glad that because Zohran is presented as a voice for the youth and presented as like a real fighter that is backed by the voters overall, he won his race, that people are finally not putting up with this nonsensical bullshit. Because this is the type of shit that I've dealt with my entire fucking career.
So, New York City socialist Zohran Mamdani resumes his anti-Trump tour today. The New York Times says his plans for free buses and policing were written with the help of other policy aides who, like him, cut their teeth in the Democratic Socialists of America. And until recently, few of the people closest to him had ever worked in the government at all. Like Mr. Mamdani, his aides are notably younger, further left than the advisors of the rival campaigns. All Democrats, by the way. The Democratic establishment, many have spent years fighting it. Here to discuss it is Turning Point founder, Turning Point USA founder, Charlie Kirk. Charlie, great to see you.
Great to see you, my friend.
All right, first off, on the rise of the...
This is what I mean when I say Fox News literally will take like independent content creators like Charlie Kirk, who are not so independent from the party apparatus, and literally put them on Fox News. There is a top-down approach to this multifaceted Republican propaganda apparatus, okay? That's it. No such equivalent thing exists on the left. Part of the reason for why is because the left, at least people like myself and others, are not exactly on the same wavelength with the Democratic Party, whereas Charlie Kirk is on the same wavelength. And directionally, all the way down to the Nicholas Fuentes of the world who hate Israel, hate Jews, right? And even shit on Donald Trump. They are directionally on so many different policies exactly in line with the Republican Party. They want mass deportations. The Republicans offer them mass deportations. Okay? That's it. That's it. There's no equivalence on the opposing side. It does not exist. Like, can you imagine a world where I'm on like CNN on my own panel advocating for the Democratic Party that is like now filled to the brim with Zohran Mamdani's and with like Bernie Sanders and whatnot. And Bernie Sanders is seen as like a moderate voice. Okay. And I'm on there talking about how awesome it is that, you know, we've already pushed for Medicare for all, but now it's time for a nationalized healthcare system. That's it. It's not going to happen. Anyway, this was the Inner Circle article that the New York Times put forward. Okay. And this is apparently terrifying. Mamdani's policies were written by 28 to 34-year-old DSAs. Few in his inner circle ever worked in government. And the person he charged to hire his city hall team is a California native. This is who we're getting to run the top financial capital in the world and the largest school system in the country in charge of 300,000 employees and a $112 billion budget. We should be very afraid. Yeah. Ridiculous, says Eric Hovagim. Policy should be written by AIPAC lobbyists and 83-year-olds, not 34-year-old babies. I can't believe it. So you mean to tell me that all of these good policies that people seemingly respond very positively to were written by younger analysts and advisors? Oh, wow. Well, maybe we need more of those guys in every team. I don't know.
Socialists. Yes. Keem Jeffries, not a word. Not a word from Schumer, Dan Goldman. Why not? Where's the leadership?
Well, they're terrified, and they want to be on the right side if he becomes mayor. But it goes to show the dysfunction of the Democrat Party, both here in New York and nationally. And understand, the last couple of election cycles, they were able to quell this kind of AOC socialist base. Bernie Sanders won the primary in 2016, but there were a lot of gamesmanship by Hillary Clinton. He was probably going to win it in 2020. Remember, there were more games with Joe Biden. So that base has been quelled for over a decade. And Mamdani, we're about to hear them roar.
I don't know if there's a moderate base out there for Democrats, which has got to be scary. So let's take a look at what the Mamdani staff would look like. First, you got his influence of his parents. Dad's over at Columbia, filling up those
Isn't that fitting,
minds?
by the way, of all the it's like
Absolutely.
central casting.
Right, absolutely. And then you have his mom, a filmmaker. The guy's got some money, and he's got a rent control department.
That's right. And it's important. The Columbia thing shouldn't be lost. His ideas are an extension of the very thing that we're fighting every single day on college campuses. And undergirding all of this, and you can look at the connective tissue of the radicals, is the public sector teacher unions. They want to get rid of charter schools. They want to get rid of any semblance of school choice. They did a massive press conference on July 9th, basically, and Mamdani said, whatever you want. And Mamdani is the outgrowth of the seeds that were planted by these public sector teacher unions that want to get rid of parental choice and want to keep kids stuck in failing schools here in New York City.
The money is set aside for charter schools that benefit mostly minority communities, and they're going to hurt the people that put them in office in many respects. This is a little bit of the staff of the socialist movement. You have Zara, who is going to introduce him to a cool crowd, a veteran of Vogue, Uber, and presidential campaigns of Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton. And then you have Ellie. Ellie is somebody that also comes from the socialist movement. And then this is basically the staff that's going to fill him up. The word is they're trying to get Bill Bratton to give him legitimacy, but I hope he doesn't do it.
This is a Bolshevik type of group. And I say that with intentionality because they're radical.
You know, the Judeo-Bolsheviks, the Muslimo-Bolsheviks. This is a Islamo-Bolshevik style situation, okay? Yeah, great. Nazis versus Bolsheviks part 2, exactly.
It's not part of the Democrat establishment. They want to go even further than someone Mamdani's talked about.
And then check this out. AOC clearly is his mentor, and Letitia James is somebody that wants a job. Should he be winning, but she's got herself some legal problems. Gavin Newsom, who you sat down with on a podcast, made a lot of news. He wants to fancy himself as the Democratic nominee, taking on Trump again. Now he's saying this, challenging Donald Trump. He says he's going to redistrict if he doesn't call off the Texas redistricting. Put this out. Donald Taco Trump, as many call him, missed his deadline. Californians will now draw new, more beautiful maps. They will be historic as they will end the Trump presidency. The Dems will take back the House.
Well, his podcast was such a failure, so now he's got to try a whole new shtick. But here's the thing first with Gavin Newsom, is that there's a contradiction in everything the Democrats are doing. They're saying gerrymandering is bad, but we're going to now gerrymander in response. And understand, they've used gerrymandering for years without any sort of reciprocity from the Republican Party. And now finally we have Texas that's saying, you know what, we want to have more minority representative districts. Governor Abbott came on my show and he talked about, hey, this map actually gives a bigger voice to Hispanic Americans in Texas. Look, Gavin Newsom should not be taken seriously with this, but it goes to show that these major Democrat states are run purely for power politics, not the betterment of the citizens of their states.
And by the way, they've already maxed it out. They'll probably they could maybe squeeze out a few more seats.
Yes.
But Texas is capable of getting 10 more seats.
Yes, and look, this kind of gerrymandering arms race, this kind of mass proliferation of political maps. No one delights in this, but where did this come from? My home state of Illinois, where I grew up, I mean, you look at some of these maps, it looks like just like random splatterings of paint. Like there's no semblance whatsoever of how these maps come from. New York is heavily gerrymandered. Remember, here in New York, they got rid of Republican seats after the last gerrymandering, redistricting and map cycle. I'm thrilled that President Trump and Greg Abbott are finally playing offense on this. I think Gavin Newsom's all bluster.
I think Florida will be next, and after that, Indiana. That's right. Perhaps. Charlie, great to see you.
Great to see you, my friend.
All right.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, that is Charlie Kirk. You did a great job filling in over the weekend.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brad.
Yeah, I know Cuomo's pretending he's more pro-Bernie than Zohran now, which is really funny because, once again, Zohran was endorsed by Bernie Sanders. Also, some Democrats panicked over Mamdani. Obama called him. The interest in the closely guarded world of Obama and those around him is the clearest sign yet that Mamdani is likely to be embraced by the Democratic mainstream, whether the party's leaders and donors like it or not. Wow. I'm gonna keep it $1.50 with you. I think this is ass covering for Obama. Listen, Obama has access to the internet. Why hasn't he said nothing? I know that the Obama boys, the Pod Johns, are Team Zohran, okay? They were quick to read the writing on the wall, okay? They were quick to recognize what the is needed for the Democrats to change course. But, like, But what I don't understand is where the f- is Obama? He has internet. He's tweeting about other shit. I think the Podjons are ass covering for Obabe. That's what I think. Former President Barack Obama, the last Democrat to captivate the party's base, got on the phone in a lengthy call in June. Mr. Obama congratulated Mr. Mamdani, offered him advice about how governing and discussed the importance of giving people hope in a dark time, according to people with knowledge of the conversation. Others in Obama's orbit have also shown a keen interest in Mr. Mamdani and his campaign. John Favreau, who served as Mr. Obama's speechwriter, Dan Pfeiffer, former senior advisor, been in communication with the Democratic strategist Morris Katz, among Mr. Mamdani's close allies. David Axelrod, who served as Mr. Obama's chief campaign strategist and senior advisor, was also curious. Last month, he stopped by Mr. Mamdani's campaign headquarters, then in the Flatiron neighborhood of Manhattan, to meet with the candidate and his staff and to see things for himself. If I was in charge of this campaign, which I'm not, I would get, you were mentioning the inner circle stuff? Okay, shut the f up. I would get that support and also at times good advice necessary that comes from all of the experience that these guys have. You know, having said that, don't forget the momentum and the people that brought you to the position, and don't forget the spark that was genuinely within you that allowed you to win the Democratic primary. You know, you're so vindicated for it's the policies, stupid take. Exactly. He already has the motion. I think people need to understand, bro, you're a Nepo baby. Nobody's going to listen to you when it comes to social policies. As much as I think Zohran is super dumb, Cuomo is just so terrible. Oh, thanks, man. Thanks, Somber 1993A. Thanks for your endorsement for Zohran over Cuomo. Bro, you're an Nepo baby. Nobody's going to listen to you when it comes to social policies. It's weird because we're reading an article about Obama advisors who have listened to me, who are now speaking directly to another guy that, you know, I was an early endorser of, who seemingly won his primary in spite of all the odds. I don't know, man. Yeah, but you get attractions from non-mainstream? What? I don't even know what that means. Both are terrible. Girl, what are your politics? Average American median voter. It's just funny because, like, there are probably other instances where you could at least like pounce and try to. You're closer to Cuomo than you are Zohran? Huh? I would love to hear what you mean by that. Is it because, like, you're saying I'm a Nepo baby like Cuomo is? Is that what you're saying? Because I feel like I'm a Nepo baby in the same way that Zohran is a Nepo baby. And not in the way that just do X, just get a civilian job. I live in a mansion. Wait, what? It's kind of sad that this is over the age of 30, by the way. It is wild what has happened to the education system in this country. Oh my Lord. We will never see the light. I don't have hair transplants. What? Okay. All right. We're just moving on. Bro, what education system, Lamau? I know. It's so bad that if they nuked the Department of Education, people wouldn't even know. I mean, we basically did that by putting Vince McMahon's wife in charge of the Department of Education. But that's how it is. Anyway, part of the article is David Axelrod take a shot at Jeffries, Gillibrand, Schumer, but his characterization applies a lot of the historical scare literature on MAGA too. Scared the hell out of people to try to compensate for our deficient politics. Mr. Axelrod said he found the reaction of much of New York's political establishment dispiriting and outdated. Scare the hell out of people and maybe we can get them to vote for our deficient politics, he said, describing the approach with brutal efficiency. That's not a politics I want to be associated with. That's not a politics I think prevails. Yeah, no one should listen to you as a wealthy socialist on social issues. That's why I voted for a billionaire Nepo baby who understands the working class, who for 4 years was the president and did nothing for the working class and actually the working class super hard. But I think this time is different. Yeah. What I found when I went over to the office was a familiar spirit that I hadn't seen in a while of just determined, upbeat idealism. I joined Zohran's campaign because of your interview with him. Thank you so much for introducing so many of us to him. Fuck yeah. It's my honor. I hope that we can create more Zohrans all around the country. I think a real opportunity here is for more Zohrans to prop up all around the country, specifically in rural areas. Because I think like New York can be conquered with progressive politics, but I think it's important to also show that through organizing and through militant organizing and through door knocking campaigns and with the same kind of dynamism demonstrated by Zohran with good policies, I think there is an opportunity ripe for the picking. Mr. Axelrod was introduced to Mr. Mamdani by Patrick Gaspard, another Obama insider. Mr. Gaspard, Mr. Obama's 2008 national political director and later U.S. ambassador to South Africa, has been serving as an informal advisor to Mr. Mamdani. My fear with this kind of like, let's lend a helping hand to the Zohran campaign after he was able to forcibly make himself an undeniable force within National Democratic Party politics is that I really, really, really hope that it is not used as a mechanism to make him more servile to centrist politics. You know, I don't think that is going to happen. I'm not saying that is happening. Okay. I'm sure plenty of other people will be quick to say, oh, it's going to be AOC 2.0 or something along those lines. Like, I don't necessarily believe that, partially because I do think that he is like ideologically on board with socialism and what others would consider radical politics. I think that might be their end goal, and he needs all the help he can get, not even in the general. I think it's over. You should never be comfortable, though, of course. I think he's going to need all the help he can get from the National Party for his run as mayor. There are going to be a lot of elements that try to disrupt his goals. Don't say he's fine. He's up 20 points. It doesn't matter. Things can change. In any case, let's get back to Charlie Kirk, Turning Point CEO. President Trump used tariffs as a way to bring people to the table.
Joining us on set, Charlie Kirk, founder and CEO of Turning Point USA, the host of the Charlie Kirk Show. I only follow 200 people, I think. That's not that many.
I'm honored.
And
he doesn't even follow me anymore.
This guy was dick-sucking Trump last week. Now he's dick-sucking one of Trump's cronies. Nice.
He's he's blocked me.
But you know what people do?
What's that?
They send me your stuff to
needle you.
To tweet me.
I know.
So, Charlie, we know each other. I said we're going to have you on. So the people that were calling you to find out, what your views are, they said, what is the rationale for having Charlie Kirk on? So here's what I sent back. The unprecedented success of Trump's first 200 days in sharp contrast to the mainstream media narrative of chaos.
I love that.
I was kidding. It was a big, beautiful response.
You want me to laugh? Whatever it was.
It was a bit. No, I'm saying, in every jest,
right,
there is some truth, and I think you would argue, from where you're sitting, that's not a false statement.
Whether it be trade deals, whether it be where the state. I mean, we just talk economics. The state of the economy. The country's hot right now. I mean, the market's up. We saw the inflation numbers yesterday were far better than experts would have estimated. And I mean, look, he got his one big beautiful bill passed, and I think we're only starting to see the economy heat up.
Okay, so can I ask one question?
You can.
And this is the take him literally or take him literally,
President
take him
Trump.
Figuratively question, right?
Okay.
Because we've all been debating for the last several months on this show and everywhere whether we're supposed to have our hair on fire or not about the tariffs and whether the tariffs are going to impact the economy, right? Yesterday, the president went after Goldman Sachs because that economist had said that he thought there'd be a recession as a result of the tariffs. Now, his original report, if you go back and look at it, was based on the idea that China might be at, 145% tariff rates.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, what happened? Oh, I wonder why there's no recession. Maybe because you didn't implement the tariffs you said you were going to implement. What are the listen, I'm not in the business of defending Goldman Sachs. Okay? But what are they supposed to do in their analysis if you don't actually implement the tariffs regime that you said you were going to implement? Which, by the way, I'm glad. I'm glad that they didn't implement it, you know? But it's just so stupid. It's like, yeah, no shit. No shit. As long as you have a bald spot in the back of your head, this is like the funny... New Twitch streamers or new Twitch watchers are coming in to do the oldest Twitch meta of all time. You think that's a new chat behavior? As old chat behavior. How does one join Antifa?
And so that calculation, the sort of the hair on fire thing at that point was, if he actually does what he says he's going to do, yes, the economy might do that. It didn't do that in part because he didn't do that. And so what is, to the extent that you're like a mind reader of the president. What should the business community, how should the business community think about what he says versus what he's going to do?
This is not complicated. He wants what's best for America. It's not ideological.
Yeah, dude. He just wants good things and not bad. You know, once you realize he wants all the good and none of the bad, and just keep simply repeating over and over again that all the good things that are doing that have bad outcomes are actually good and not bad, you will get to where I'm at. God. It's so simple. God.
And he wants what's best both for capital and labor. And he wants the market to succeed. He wants wages to go up. And look, you look at the trade deals. The only reason we got the trade deals, which are inarguably wins and victories across the board, whether it be Japan, Philippines, EU, and I think we will see a very good China deal, I hope, in the next couple of months, is because you use tariffs as a way to bring people to the table. And tariffs have largely been used as two things: national security components or as revenue generators. He has now created a third category, which is we're going to use it as a negotiation tactic. And he has the whole world spinning, and they're coming to the Oval Office wanting to get a deal done, wanting to come into the U.S. markets. And he's also recalibrated the way that we are financing the government. And a lot of the experts would say, hey, if you have any tariffs at all, and just to push back a little bit, it's not just the 145% tariff. They said, hey, if you have a 10% tariff, we're going to see massive inflation. If you have a 20%, we've now had 90 days of tariffs in place across the board. And the report yesterday, and the market responded, because the market doesn't lie. The inflation just wasn't there. The structural inflation was not there. And if it comes in the next couple months, then obviously we'll correct it. But the prices have not raised.
There really is a dichotomy of people in this country. Half the people, maybe not half, but there are a lot of people that look at Trump and say, you know what? Like Charlie, I think he's a negotiator. I've seen what he's done in the past. I think that he knows what he's doing. That's what they say. Whereas other people say, are you out of your mind completely? This guy has no idea. He's bankrupted. You know,
there's individuals who can hold both ideas in their mind. By the way,
did you think he knew? Did you think he knew what he was doing with negotiations?
I thought he might be able to.
The art of the deal. He's written books. He's a businessman.
How far he'd get.
Because no one really thought we were staying at 100. No one thought we were.
What are you guys talking about? Are we just seemingly repeating an abject lie because the market has decided that it's better to just like lie about the future of the country so that stock prices don't plummet, and they're just going to repeat this stuff over and over again? At a certain point, you're going to have to cash those checks.
Going to stay at 140%.
Look, the question from an economic perspective on tariffs is you may collect the tariff on one end, and the question is what happens to the real economy on the other end.
And so far, we have not seen.
And so far, we haven't seen it yet.
There was a major, catastrophic prediction, right? The panicins, the whole world's going to fall apart. And we just haven't seen that. And
yeah, because Trump was the panikin. He backed away from the most consequential aspects of his tariffs regime. What are we talking about? I'm losing my dude. Are we not operating on the same plane of existence? This isn't Fox News, chat. This is Squawk Box. It's like, at the end of the day, you're supposed to, like, the money market guys are supposed to be the honest ones because you can't fuck up the bag. What is happening? The money market guys have decided it's actually better to just act like what Trump is doing is great and pass the buck down the line, and like we'll deal with it when it's no longer manageable. I don't understand it.
And I think there does need to be a little contrition by the economic ruling class, like, hey, back when we were saying this was going to be the worst thing for the global markets ever, it turns out what it has done is it recentered America as the center point of the world economy, that people wanted to invest in this country.
And the best case scenario is that these countries, it's important to them that they continue to trade with us, and they're eating some of the tariffs, and they're not directly paying for it, but that's where the pain is.
And I don't want to speak for him, but I'm going to make a bet that if David Solomon were sitting here today, this is the CEO of Goldman Sachs.
I've met him.
Right. That there's part of David that likes some of the policies that this president has put forward around taxes.
More of them, not just some, most.
Right. And I'm sure he hates the fact that he is called out by the president and told to go back to being a full-time DJ or whatever the president said
told he is a good
yesterday.
DJ.
He is a good DJ. And so I think that's why I said it's not just that there's one side of the world that thinks one thing and one side of the world that I think there's actually individuals who can hold both ideas in their head.
Charlie,
and by the way, are confused as a result.
Anybody that is even a quasi supporter of President Trump, and maybe I put myself in that category, there are plenty of times where you're uncomfortable trying to defend some of the things that are. Have you ever felt uncomfortable with?
What? Okay, it's over. The money market guys are done. Brother, you are not Brian Kilmeade. What the is happening? Was Squawk Box always like this? I don't really watch too much CNBC. But I was always of the mindset that, like, at least when it came to Trump and shit, like, they were just like, yeah, this stuff doesn't look too good. What do you mean? Do you get uncomfortable trying to defend Trump? At that point, you're supposed to be like, at that point, you're not supposed to defend Trump.
I mean,
anything?
Look, I'm uncomfortable defending some of the things I've said a couple years ago. I mean, but look, I just look at results, and I look at this is a guy that goes to work every single day and produces wins for the American people. And look, real wages are up this year for working people, $1,100. We just saw the report that we're starting to see crude go down a little bit, and we need that definitely to have energy prices go down. Capital expenditures are going up, which is a leading prerequisite for economic growth. And I get all the objections. I just want to say one final thing, though, is that I think that we need to rework our mental model when it comes to Donald Trump, especially in people that are running companies, because they're looking too much on the flow on X, and they're not looking at the macroeconomic, geopolitical victory that President Trump is driving every single day, which is recentering America as the forefront leader of the world economy.
Okay.
It's funny. You're right. This is the same talking points that the Dems used in 2024 to refuse to address the cost of living crisis that people were freaking out about. But also, the Democrats were left to deal with negative real wage growth for 1.5 years under the Biden administration. That's like impossible to contend with. Okay. Donald Trump is not currently experiencing that level of economic uncertainty. Having said that, this whole like, oh, you don't understand. Actually, the tariffs were to reestablish the reestablish American dominance, like to point to like other random nonsensical reasons as to why Trump is doing this idiotic shit. Is so silly. It's so stupid. Nobody gives a fuck, man. And on top of that, it makes no damn sense. Like there's no, like, he doesn't seemingly know exactly what he's doing this tariff stuff for. They just keep changing the narrative. I don't understand. Anyway, Trump watched one Baki season and he still rambles about criminals coming into the country. Baki season. I don't even know what the say anymore on this shit, dude. Yeah, look at Chuck Schumer's approval rating. Hold on, where is it? Chuck Schumer's approval in New York. Look at this. Look. New Siena poll. New Yorkers have Senator Schumer at lowest ever favorability rating dating from February 2005. 38% to 50%, down from 41 to 47 in June. Among Dems, his favorability rating is 49 to 39%, down from 55 to 35 in June. For the first time ever, he is underwater with New York City voters. 39% favorability, 46% unfavorability. That's crazy. Perhaps this has something to do with what Chuck Schumer has kept himself occupied with. Okay? Clearly, at a time when the Trump administration is like going nutty mode, ripping the Constitution apart and wiping their ass with it, ripping families apart and celebrating it, if you're just either A, silent, which implies complicity, okay, because neutrality and silence in the face of untold, unimaginable amounts of oppression is siding with the oppressors. And if you're silent in all of this, in the face of all of this, as the Senate Minority Leader, one of the most impactful, supposedly, Democrats out there, people are going to correctly read that as you dropping the ball. And then worse than silence, the only time when he chimes in is when it's about Israel, and not even in the direction of the party's attitude on Israel, not in the direction of the voters' attitude on Israel. He's not chiming in to say Israel. He's chiming in to say, you guys should stop saying Israel at a time when everyone is saying it. The calls are loud. They are impossible to ignore. And Chuck Schumer is seemingly talking to an increasingly shrinking, tiny percentage of the base of support within the Democratic Party. Of course, you're going to have underwater approval ratings. It's idiotic, a failure of epic proportions in every sense of the word. He tries to make it an initiative to actively make the left more pro-Israel, fails on that front. But the very fact that that is his primary focus is literally an indictment on Chuck Schumer. Yes, I know about the Baileys. I know the John Oliver bit on the Baileys was done. I've talked about the Baileys a lot, okay? I'm glad that the John Oliver writers who are in here brought it up to John Oliver, so they covered it. We've talked about it months ago. We've talked about it for a long-ass time, as a matter of fact. I know. Dick Durbin voting with Chuck to pave the way for the Trump admin cuts to go through directly led to a backlash in Illinois and his decision not to run again. Honestly, why people don't see the writing on the wall, and I'm curious who will replace Durbin. Yeah. New York City net favorables. Mamdani at plus 14. Gillibrand at -2. Schumer at -7. Curtis Sliwa at -12. Elise Stefanik at -16. Cuomo at -17. Andrew Cuomo is less popular than Curtis Sliwa and Elise Stefanik. Eric Adams is -28 and Donald Trump is -39. Oh my God. It's a mystery why Cuomo's unpopular. Look at this Riz. Who's living rent-free now, Paisan? Zohran Mamdani can't stop talking about Andrew Cuomo's rent-stabilized dig during anti-Trump New York City tour. Hey, look at that. One of the most reputable outlets have written about you once again. The same outlet that brought to you important pieces of journalism like Zohran Mamdani stole a table in college. I'll have you know, you can't have a criminal scumbag like Zohran running amok in New York City. Are you kidding me? Hey, I'm walking here. Yeah, this is what comes to mind instantly. Broke down the scandals dogging Cuomo and Mamdani. Ties to Jeffrey Epstein. 13 sexual harassment cases. Rep by Harvey Weinstein's lawyer. Served as Netanyahu's lawyer. Killed thousands of seniors. Siphoned funds from the MTA. Got $5 million for a book he didn't write. Scandals for Zohran Mamdani. Has apartment. Yeah. Once borrowed a table from student union when he was in college. I'm just glad that because Zohran is presented as a voice for the youth and presented as like a real fighter that is backed by the voters overall, he won his race, that people are finally not putting up with this nonsensical bullshit. Okay? because this is the type of shit that I've dealt with my entire career as a political content creator on Twitch. Okay, I'm not like running for office or anything, so the standard should be even lower for someone like myself. And yet people unironically still try to do this shit, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy that people are not even entertaining this at all and just simply making fun of how insane these idiotic standards are, because this is not a real standard to apply to anyone. Okay? It's just not. It's not. It's incredibly stupid. My Nana called him a 9/11 insider agent because his dad is Muslim. Yeah, of course. Well, your Nana is insanely racist. Meanwhile, Clinton Dems on Fox.
Perhaps.
These people, Democrats, question mark, are on Fox News spewing racist nonsense about a brown Democrat who won a Democratic primary. They're scared they'll lose power and influence in a party that's dying. Instead of welcoming Zohran Mamdani, the people he inspired into the party, they choose to alienate them and move the party as far right as they can to appeal to the last 5 anti-Trump Republicans. I don't even think this is necessarily an appeal to the last 5 anti-Trump Republicans. Okay? I think this is more so a desperate attempt to cling on to power in the dying party, as the original assessment made. That's it. They're speaking to no one. It's just a straightforward appeal to the Republicans to be like, hey, if you don't act up real quick, if you don't get wise to the danger presented by Zohran, you're actually going to have a competitive party in front of you. You're actually going to have to do work. You're not going to be dealing with the corporate Dem losers that don't actually care about any of these issues that we speak out on. Okay? This is how it always goes. When you're on the left, your enemies are all over, okay? If you are actually progressive, if you're actually a socialist, God forbid, you are going to have to deal with the Democrat Party, with the Democratic machine that is desperately trying to cling on to power so they can continue being the controlled opposition party, okay, led by carcasses that have calcified in their positions, that never talk to a real human being, let alone their constituents, that get their notes from lobbyists and corporate benefactors only in these closed door private dinners that they throw together to fundraise. Okay? And then you're also going to get shafted by, obviously, everyone from the center to the far right. Everyone from center right to the far right. They all despise you. The expectation in this circumstance is for the party to look at the momentum building on the left and say, hey, guys, I think our time is done. And if we want to save this country, if we want to preserve democracy, if we want to have a real active counterbalance to growing fascism in this country, we're going to have to step aside and we're going to have to let the Zohrans bloom. Okay? But they're not doing that because they don't care. They would rather appease the fascists as long as they remain in power, at least for the remainder of their lifespan, which is going to be short anyway. They're old. Okay? That's it. They're old. They're going to die soon regardless, and they would rather spend the last decade of their life desperately clinging on the power before the administration decides that, like, they're jailing the opposition anyway. This is how the story always ends.
I'm reading that perhaps you've been talking to the Trump administration about how to stop Mamdani, maybe help Andrew Cuomo, maybe it's Eric Adams. I know you're not going to help Curtis Sliwa. That would be my choice if I was in New York. Is any of that true? Do you see any possibility the Trump administration might in any way try to get involved to stop Mamdani? Because I don't think they should lift a finger for any of these candidates, except for Curtis.
I don't know what President Trump is going to do. I think the facts are pretty clear. Mamdani is not a real Democrat. He's a democratic socialist. And Andrew Cuomo is a real
Marxist.
Democrat. Yes, he's a Marxist. He's a socialist. He's an anti-Semite, I believe, as well, from his comments. And he has no experience whatsoever to be mayor of New York City. On top of all that, I think Cuomo has a Democratic base and a record. Curtis Sliwa doesn't really have a chance of winning, but he's got 28% of the vote. So the Republicans could well be the ones who determine who is the next mayor. Are they going to stay home, or are they going to say, look, we really can't let New York go down the drain. We can't let New York's worst nightmare be Zohran Mamdani, which a socialist who would bankrupt it, and anti-Semitic views would divide the city in ways that would be really difficult for it to come back. I think Donald Trump is a New Yorker at heart. He doesn't want to see that happen. I think Andrew Cuomo has the experience and the guts to kind of take the city and bring it back together. And we're going to have an election. And this election is not going to be a Democratic primary, but a city that's not like D.C., it's got about 30% Republicans. So you guys are going to have to make a choice.
I think mispronouncing his name as a dog whistle, by the way, nah, it's not. These guys are just, bro. They're just racist. That's it. They don't know how to say it. It's too hard for them. It's not. They're not like signaling. Brother, you talking about dudes who like literally call him a terrorist, okay? I don't think they need dog whistles at that point. Like, what do you mean? They're on Fox News. This guy is going to Fox News. Fox News spends a decent chunk of their Zohran coverage literally saying that if elected, he's going to do 9/11 again and again and again. What do you think that is? That's not a dog whistle. That's a bullhorn, you know? Please stop trying to find like secret messages between the lines. Just read the lines. They are actively telling you. They are openly racist, okay? Yeah, the mispronunciation is not even a principled stance on racism, a principled stance of racism. They're just too stupid to know how to say it genuinely. Yeah, and they just don't care. That's it. Like, that's the other thing. They just don't care to correct themselves. Do you understand? Being a progressive means making real progress. There's only one candidate in this race who's passed a bill supported by Bernie Sanders. Surprise! That's me. I am a progressive because I believe in getting things done for people who need it. As governor, I championed to pass the Excelsior Scholarship to make college tuition free for New York's middle class. It was a national first to help make New York more affordable. And as mayor, I will continue to further expand education opportunities for all New Yorkers. It's so funny to present Bernie Sanders as like a defender of your progressivism when he very clearly endorsed your opposition. Okay? He endorsed Zohran Mamdani. This is just an opening for you. For Bernie to go, yeah, you suck, dog. I am gay. I am black. I am Muslim. I am New York. I'm Andrew Cuomo. And I've sexually harassed and assaulted 13 women, including a cop. I am Andrew Cuomo, also known as cop rapist. I am a woman. Anyway, that's Cuomo. I thought you were doing a Curtis Lewa impression. No, I'm just purposely exaggerating. Bernie Sanders accused or influenced, blah, blah, blah. Okay, new Siena poll. We talked about that. All right, let's get back to some finishing touches on New Road. Oh, my God. That's crazy. Hell yeah. Hasan the terrorist. It gotta be. These guys, this has got to be a bot, right? Like, there ain't no way. This 35 seconds ago sees a nonprofit be like, hey, we're showing love to the people that fundraised to fix our road. And this guy's like, the terrorist. No, it's a real senator, bro. Senator Bungus. Yeah, Medicare for all, TRT for all, Ozempic for all, HRT for all. That's my argument. Yeah. Trump's new head of labor statistics, by the way, he's got Nazi ship paintings in his office. What? Experts have noticed that Trump's new head of labor statistics appears to have a Nazi ship hanging behind him in his office. What is, oh my God, brother, what the, I was already pissed off because he's like a Heritage Foundation creep, you know? And of course, as is expected, he's not just a Heritage Foundation creep, but like much like many others from that same background, he's also a World War II enjoyer. But he has his costumes in his closet. Oh, yeah. They love losers, man. Whether it be the Confederacy or the Nazis, they love that shit. They wear it on their sleeve. Like the sword. That's awesome. Yes, you destroyed me in the marketplace of ideas. You're right. 12 years of actively combating neo-Nazi sentiment all down the drain because I have a bleach sword because your favorite dumbass hysterical content creator decided so. You're right. Yeah, it's the same as the guy who works for the Nazi administration who has a Nazi painting behind him. Please, dude. The idea of a very famous bleach sword is a Nazi memorabilia that is similar to a direct painting, a commissioned painting of a famous Nazi ship, shows to me what your worldview revolves around, which is online commentary and drama. Wake the up. The Gestapo is going to be knocking down your door and arresting your parents, and you're going to be like, well, I watched enough. I didn't. Oh, man. Well, hold on, sir. Before you arrest my mother and ship her ass to a concentration camp, I'll have you know I have to finish my YouTube video that I was watching. Idiot. Hold on. Let me finish my drama slop tuber video. How do you not realize that you are being purposely kept dumb? Like you are personally, like you have made the journey over here, okay? This should be a wake-up call for you about like larger issues that are happening. I know it sounds boring, right? I know it's difficult. It's difficult to keep up with whatever the f is going on.
We're going to use it as a very positive example. And we're going to be asking for extensions on that, long-term extensions.
My favorite slop tuber will hear about this as I'm being dragged to a concentration camp. Meanwhile, their favorite slop tuber is going to unironically, their favorite slop tuber is going to be, you know, moving their commentary to other irrelevant content creators that deserve to be canceled or something because they're too afraid of actually going to prison. They'll never actually take a political position, even if they believe in it. And the political positions that they do believe in it are the political positions that they do believe in are serving the interests of the same exact administration that you are supposed to despise. Okay? At least I'm out here, in spite of everything else, trying to do my very best to actively fight back against this shit. Okay? You, on the other hand, are getting your notes from slop tubers that hang out with neo-Nazis with regular goddamn frequency, thinking that you're actually a liberal and your true compass is firmly planted in attacking seemingly a ton of other progressive content creators. Hasan Reactions is one of the best ones in the React channel.